I've been kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired for my last job. Hot wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard. Beat my brother-in-law half to death. Lost $20 on his football bet. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Good old boys, we're all the same. Ain't no way we'll ever change. Ain't no harm by the things we do or the trouble that we get into. Other than a wild hair once in a while.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Ask Brent, Tuesday morning. Lots to get to.
You think that's code there from Rena Shear? Good.
I think she's joined the Greg Garcia
I tell you what.
School of Good Mornings.
I mean, I wish it said, good morning, my dear friends. Hope you have a great day. I get good.
There, she's trying again. There, she said, trying again. Good morning.
There you go. Good morning.
She hit send too early. Ricky King, Marvin Mickers, Bobby Leister on the podium this morning.
Saw her yesterday. I'm sure you did too. And yep. We went to the celebration of life for Robbie Burge. Very, very well done. It's the first time I've ever heard Kansas at a funeral. Carry on wayward son is actually the name of the song, not My Wayward Son, but very interesting. Well done. Lots of love in the room.
Robbie's the only guy I've ever known that actually had Kansas albums.
Right. No. They say he played that. What else did they play? There was another one from Kansas too.
I don't know the name of that one.
And to be honest, apropos would have been Dust in the Wind.
Yeah.
I mean, no kidding. It's life is fleeting. Enjoy your friends. It was easy to see yesterday that Robbie Burge was well loved and respected in our community. Congressman was there. Another way to say that is Michael Cloud was there. Michael Cloud being a friend of Robbie's. It's not like the number of dignitaries at your funerals makes you anybody important, but Michael was there. And by the way, today is Michael Cloud's birthday, and something we don't do often is point out.
He won't win a cake on this show.
Birthdays, he won't win a cake here. The brother man might take him a cake. We might give him like a honey bun, but he wouldn't eat it.
Bear claw.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Congressman. Thanks for all you do. He's traveling today back to D.C.
To the left.
Back into the left,
Kidding.
He's going back to D.C.
Yep.
Our president's in Saudi Arabia. Probably collecting baubles.
And planes? I don't know.
I don't understand, but I don't know about the technicality of that. The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by our great friends at AT Deerland Feed.
I got the sayonara from my backyard.
And did you lay it out already?
Killing mosquitoes and other.
Is it granular or do you spray it?
Hook it up to the hose, and they got the other one that you mix with your sprayer if you got a backpack sprayer and stuff. But I just got the hose one. It's working as we speak. Some
trivia about mosquitoes is they are not nomadic. If you can kill the mosquitoes on your property, 90+% of the mosquitoes will be gone.
And only the females bite.
That's true in so many parts of life. But it's interesting that you don't have to once a week, maybe every major rain, you may have to spray for mosquitoes. But you don't have to kill mosquitoes but once. And what they do, because they are so small, they dehydrate very quickly. If you have hedge plants, they will be underneath the leaves. I used to have a thing, and it was cool. You put MAP gas on it, and you mix this fluid chemical, and it was a fogger. And you want to talk about, and I'm sure they still exist, but you want to talk about lay it down. You could light this thing, and this fog would come out and kind of waft. I do it in the mornings. All the mosquitoes were asleep. It was like San Jacinto for the Mexicans. I mean, the Texans came in and slaughtered them while they slept. No mas mosquitoes.
No bean lottery for him.
No. Wade and Carter weather, 72 degrees in Victoria right now. The skies will be sunny, and it should be a high of around 96.
It's a long way to get to the weather.
96 today. We give AT Dillon feed their due. You know, they deserve a long segment of, minutia that we just shared with them. Saw Judge Posey there yesterday at the funeral.
Amanda King, good morning. Jordan Glass, Lisa Poole, Scott Snow, Scott Tomko, Melissa Hanson, good morning. Randy Langston, Torrin Bales, Monty Howard, Stephanie Connie, Junior Samples.
Look at that, folks, checking in on YouTube. Thank you so much. Like and share the video. The more viewers we can get on YouTube, the more we can do for you folks and for our sponsors. So
Facebook's doing some weird stuff. Like they've stopped archiving our shows after 30 days, and YouTube never takes them down, which is good because we never take them down.
YouTube must have a bigger server.
Maybe so. Or they had to sell. I don't know. Maybe Facebook needed to sell and liquidate some assets to pay off all their legal bills that they're coming up with.
Well, you think about it. We've been doing this, over 8 years? Are we in year 9?
Yeah, we're coming up on,
Huh? How long we been doing it?
We're in year 9.
Year 9. And, that's a lot of shows. We've certainly done more than 2,000 shows. I mean, certainly. So you find yourself.
First ones didn't go on Facebook right away. I think we were about a month in before we figured out we could. And
I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they did not. I have to admit, Ash and I have always had a great rapport, but the ability to do the show has no doubt evolved over the years.
Yeah. Some would say devolved, but
I'm still guilty. I mean, I own it. I'm not obviously, it's like, I'm going to state the obvious. I'm not a surgeon. I'm not a trained broadcaster. And I know, I'm aware of it. I work on it and bless his heart. I mean this. He's never said a word about it, but I'm keenly aware if I go back and listen to the show that there are times that I interrupt or that I overspeak or that I talk over him.
Ditto.
And I
do it all the time too.
Case in point. but I mean sincerely, this is like a cleansing for us. I'm coming out to the public. Yeah, it's like a high colonic. No, but I feel like, it's something we've gotten better at. We frick and frack very well together. And I still stand by this.
It's so fun.
We still approach all things political from different perspectives. We've never been like, did you see this? Those guys are communist. It's like Asher go, well, if you look at this and then you go back to there and you look at the body of work, then they're communist.
You and I never strategize on our points and things. We discuss what we're going to talk about, but we never talk about how we're going to talk about them. No, we don't align our strategies and our viewpoints. Then we come at them.
I feel like,
and I think that's where the magic exists.
I do. I will tell you that it's uncanny to me how if you and I agree on something, whether it's a conspiracy theory or whatever, honest, through almost 9 years, we've always been right. Just have. We were right about COVID. We were right about Biden running. People laughed at me. Are you kidding me? Biden's going to run, man. The left's going to rig the deal. Biden's going to win. I said, that dude is not going to be the candidate. And that was before the debate.
Yeah. You called it in February. I figured it was going to be a little bit later. But
before the debate, I told you, there ain't no way they're going to run.
The primaries, I think it barely started, and you were like, Biden's done. Let's jump off there because how the heck do you pull your candidate from the presidential election, a sitting president, up for re-election?
Mm-hmm.
You pull him out of the campaign, and here we are 4 months after Inauguration Day, and you've got Joe Biden on the U.S. tour going around talking about,
chatting up how great the Dems are.
I mean,
they paid him so much money.
But he wasn't coherent. They admitted, well, yeah, we've lied. He's not coherent enough to run the country. But now he's coherent enough to be the spokesman for your party again?
And that's one of the things that hurt Kamala Harris was when she said, I was the last one in the room. Joe was sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
It's a quote. He was sharp as a tack. They asked Elizabeth Warren, so you're saying, you made this comment, and I think Joe's doing a great job. I think he's sharp as a tack. And they said, so you made that comment? She said, well, that's what I felt at the time. And he goes, so you're telling me that Joe Biden was as sharp as you are? And she went, oh, she did not answer that because she's a politician. She didn't want to say, you bet he was. She didn't double down on what she was emphatic about months before.
No, because she would have been.
She was disingenuous then. She was lying to cover for the party. The things, and I don't understand. I don't understand why the left is not outraged at the left. If I found out,
because they're only outraged at Trump and the Trumpers and the never Trumpers.
Well, if I found out that Trump was deemed incompetent by his family and that all of a sudden Melania started having to make statements for him and come this way, Mr. President. If I start finding that out and I find out they knew it and this guy's sitting on the nuclear codes, this is going to bother me too, just from forget that I'm conservative and he's conservative. I've never seen a president more busy than Donald Trump. You may not agree with everything he does, but he's going to treat you so many ways, you're bound to like one of them. I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
He's blowing and going. He's gotten more done. In the first, and I hate to use that term, 100 days. Because
that became a magical deal.
Stupid, arbitrary.
He's worked 113 days and Congress has worked about 35. Yeah. That's a true statement right there.
Here's the problem right now. He has to executive order everything because Congress is so broken that they can't get anything done. Like, I don't quite get it. And it's no knock on our congressmen. But what is Congress really doing? I mean, you would think.
No, because our congressman's frustrated too.
Yeah, I know he is.
Michael Cloud will tell you, the wheels turn so slow.
And maybe it's always been this way, and I just didn't realize it.
There is that chance.
There is that chance.
That things have been that. Things happen in our lives, and we realize they've always been that way, and we just didn't know it.
Didn't even know they were happening.
Junior Sample says, we're victorious, Bert and Ernie. I've had people say, hey, Bert. My own family has said, you guys are Fred and Barney.
Yeah, that's probably
that's
accurate, maybe.
Hey, Barn. Hey, Fred. But you look around and we could be Laurel and Hardy. Although,
I never liked them as much.
You got to admit,
Abbott and Costello.
Again,
I like them better.
I'll have you folks know, and I'm gonna one of my breaks. I'm gonna throw in some Para Vida Wellness and my wife. I was, and I told you folks,
do it right now. Then let's get to the break.
You
go ahead.
I was January the 15th. I think I was pushing 265 pounds. I had weighed about 250 for the years that I had been with Dawn, and from last Halloween on through the election, through all the buffets, through all the parties, I had put on about 15 pounds. Some of it brought on by Del Papa Distributing. But I'd gotten up to 265 pounds, and I said, that's it. January the 15th, I said, that's it. And through Dawn's guidance and working with what essentially ends up being a carnivore diet, which I simply called Para Vida and said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to accomplish. I want these kind of macros. I want this many calories. Yep. This is what I want to do. This morning, I got on the scale 237 pounds.
Nice.
I'm 28 pounds off. Painlessly.
Last report I had, we were 240.
Yeah, I've eaten a ton of ribeyes and cheese and bacon and eggs, and they help me with it. I'll say, hey, one of my meals, just give me a proportionate amount of ground beef. They season it, they cook it. It's got no grease. I mix it in with my scrambled eggs, and that's breakfast. And it's painless. And I'm not saying that everybody should be on a carnivore diet, and I don't intend to be on it for any great length of time. But in 3.5 months, I've lost 28 pounds.
Nothing wrong with eating steak every day. Bacon. I guess it's hard on the kidneys, all right?
I don't know. It can be. Everything's hard if you do it wrong. Yeah. You know, you know that Nugenics where they deal with, they have the big hurt and Doug Flutie going, and Sheila like it too. You know, it's like I find out that I've got the libido of a 20-year-old, but I've still got the hips of a 62-year-old. I'm tired, damn it, I'm tired.
Yeah, and you got the sleep apnea of a 62-year-old. So.
But I don't snore anymore.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
Many of you go drop 30 pounds, you quit snoring,
Absolutely.
your BP's under control.
Cholesterol's better.
Absolutely. I'm not trying to preach, but it's not that difficult.
Nope.
And Para Vida was certainly a key part of what I did. Dollar floor store, get by. Laminate flooring.
She'll help you. She's good. You got a house you want to figure out what goes best with the walls. She'll give you
tile,
that idea.
She can do it all. Tamara's a nice lady, part of a much bigger company.
Yep.
But she is your local contact. Went Services, Went Electrical. You need plumbing line connected. You need somebody to come out and make sure the gas is connected properly to your generator. Yeah.
They'll do it.
Do it. What is Randy Langston talking about?
I think we had like a bunch of Brents checking in. Brent Anderson.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Thank you.
I was like, I thought maybe I did something wrong.
Look at all the folks jumping in on YouTube. Thank you all.
Yeah, we really appreciate the YouTube presence.
Yeah, subscribe on YouTube while you're there.
Went Services.
Won't miss a show.
Get it. Turnkey generator service. Give them a call. They'll give you a quote. I can tell you that if you've got a home, I believe in Victoria that you can have a whole house generator installed, ready to go for under $20,000.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable that it's substantially less than that. I'm just trying to give you.
You can't buy a decent new used vehicle or new vehicle. For the cost of that peace of mind.
Absolutely, unless you go to Atzenhofer, and you might find a certified pre-owned vehicle.
You might
really meet your needs. Atzenhofer and Atzenhofer.com. Your home for your next vehicle. Get by. Andy Rokovich lives by the three V's: vitamins, vodka, and vitriol.
All in the same glass.
There you go. I like to get hopped up on vitamins, drink some vodka, and spew my thoughts. Chesnick Furniture, Chesnick and Love make your house a home. Bobby Leon and his family have been serving you and yours for over 100 years, over 80 years at their current location.
I think they're pushing like 106 years.
It's crazy. Get by and see why you just always do better at Chesnick.
And next year will be Atzenhofer's 100th.
Okay, I'm feeling spicy.
Well,
give me a topic.
We missed this, so we got.
Yeah, we do have to talk about this
because we missed this one yesterday. Our bad.
Can you make it play? It's not on your phone over there, is it, or is it? How come it's not playing? See what you did there?
And a lonesome song can make you cry time and time again. If I'd listened to a friend of mine 10 years ago today, I'd have a better job than what I've got today. But the billboards on the highways and the brake lights on the cars made me jump out on the highway with my bag and my guitar. If she comes or if she goes, it doesn't matter anymore, 'cause I'm riding my thumb to Mexico.
Probably the guy that paved the way for Freddie Fender to come along and have the success.
And Rick Trevino.
Yeah.
There was a time, folks. I mean, I can remember being a small child and hearing people that did not consider themselves racist in any way just say, that Charlie Pride, like you'd never know that guy was black. If they were polite enough to say it that way. But Johnny Rodriguez, it was unheard of to have a Latino, a Mexican sounding artist on the radio. It was unheard of. And so you had him, then you had Freddie Fender, then you had Rick Trevino. I've talked about the racism inherent in the country music business for years.
Richie Valens was the first one, right?
But you go back and
but couldn't call him Richie Valenzuela.
When they found Rick Trevino, true story, Rick Trevino didn't speak any Spanish. Nope. He was Hispanic, but he was raised and went to Texas A&M. The kid spoke no Spanish.
Now he's done complete albums in Spanish.
His first album was all in Spanish. And then they wanted to bill him as a crossover artist. That's what the music industry does to people. Gobbles them up, spits them out. And to his credit, Johnny Rodriguez kind of did it his own way. Got a lot of flack for there's Merle Haggard said, I was in prison long before Rodriguez stole that goat. I think that was Merle Haggard that said that. But Rodriguez was billed as, oh yeah, he's been in jail. And, they really played up everything about him being Hispanic. He died at 73.
Over
May the 9th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got thrown in jail when he was 18. I don't know exactly what for.
Yeah.
But didn't have a very good life. His dad died young.
It's a great story. 1969, at age 18, Rodriguez ended up in jail. He sang frequently in his cell and was overheard by Texas Ranger Joaquin Jackson, who was impressed and told promoter Happy Shahan about him. Yeah, they were caught stealing and barbecuing a goat. Basically, later the Texas Ranger said he was in jail for not paying a fine.
Yeah. His daughter Aubrey has followed in his footsteps. I'm gonna play a little bit of this because she does I discovered a great version of "Pass Me By," the great Johnny Rodriguez song that she did.
Classic country music,
and
folks.
But having a female sing it just changes the song completely.
Would you look at what came down the road today?
She's got a great voice, doesn't she?
Yes.
Wanted me to be one more mistake to make.
I think Ash has a crush on her.
To burn, to get to
Turned it into a duet.
Hey, pass me by.
Great song.
If you're only passing through.
Well, yeah, Sean Brett.
Vinny Tovar is who she sang that song with. So
Sean Brett says, one of the nicest guys I've met from a show I barely remember. And Sean says it's his fault.
Yeah. Played a lot of Bluebonnets down the stretch.
Yeah,
him and Mo
super
Bandy
nice
were
guy.
really good friends.
And he was diminutive, to say the least.
Yeah, not a big guy. I think
We put him at second base and let him bat lead off, is what I'm telling you.
But I remember that. I remember the Riding My Thumb in the Mexico song. That was one of the first songs I think I ever heard. Him, Charlie Pride, Charlie Rich, Jim Reeves were the country artists that my dad listened to and turned me on to.
Charlie Rich was just that close to losing his record deal when he put out The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. And
Silver Fox could play some piano.
Oh, man. Good to see Glenn Dry checking in this morning. Sir, hats off. We mentioned it yesterday, but hats off to you. Sun Valley Ranch did a beautiful job hosting the celebration of life for Robbie Burge. And I did make the comment, it was the only time I've ever heard Kansas at a funeral. But I appreciated your remarks and thank you for what you did there.
Look, we're big in Italy this morning.
Hey, good morning, Michelle Wilson Hawkins. Hope you're having fun.
I think it's afternoon there.
Good afternoon in Italy. She's definitely got a glass of Chardonnay in her hands.
No, I bet you a nice Italian red.
Yeah. I concur.
Kerry Bump checking in, Randy Langston, Tammy Keeling, Monty
Think
Howard.
about Italy. Like
who's
you can walk in.
Who's console 12 on
I don't know.
YouTube?
Somebody's trying to. You can walk into a convenience store in Italy and buy what you and I would say is cheap table wine, and it's going to be better than most of what you
absolutely
get here.
Mike Patton, Jarrett McCrugan, good morning, Cuz, Christy Thurman, Sarah Elkins, Justin Glass, David Glass, BJ Nelson. I think we're caught up on the roll call this morning. Let's see who else is in. So, China and the U.S. paused their tariffs for 90 days. Apparently, China has said that they will not be imposing any tariffs on U.S. stuff, and they rolled back a lot of the tariffs that they put in place against each other.
I'm concerned about this because I support the president 100%. Eric Swalwell, who's a mouthy leftist, said, oh, the president's caving. The president's caving. I have to believe that removing the tariffs, hey, quit that. Come here. Get in here. You may want to close that door. Removing the tariffs on China benefits China more than it benefits us. And here's why. If I quit tariffing their goods Number one, they've got ships that are already loaded. They've been trying to get here that they've been holding off since the tariffs. And now they've got a 90-day opportunity to send those on into port. We don't have anything staged and ready to go to China. And that's right, Junior. It was David Allen Coe. And they still have cheap labor. They still have all the things, all the benefits they've got, the advantages they have that forced us to tariff them to begin with. I got to feel this is throwing China somewhat of a bone.
Yeah, we dropped our duties to 30% from 145 that Trump had imposed back in April. And then China dropped their counter tariff to 10% from 125. So there's still a little bit of tariffs on stuff, but not what it was.
Doesn't that benefit China more than us? And I'm not saying maybe you don't take a step back to take a step forward, but am I not correct?
Yeah, I don't know. I still struggle to see how the U.S. is going to be able to compete with the child labor and the just the simple cost of manufacturing in China that we just can't compete with because our unions have, rightly or wrongly, however you agree with it. I mean, it's always funny when the unions argue and want increased wages, but then they have to cut jobs because they can no longer make stuff at that price. But
it is hard to get around the idea that it's hard to bolster the idea that tariffs don't work because we've now got a different trade deal with the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people that we've worked with for years that have been just giving us the chorizo.
And to think that, started a whole movement over 6% tea tax in Boston. Crazy. What's interesting though? The only country that really hasn't come to the table, and I'm pretty sure Jarrett's going to be embarrassed about this, Canada. Canada has not come to the table and to renegotiate any of this at all.
And that's not economics. That's purely
stupidity.
Politics. The Canadians are saying, we're drawing a line in the sand. We're just as sovereign as you. We're just as important as you. And you can't treat us this way just because you've got a bigger military than us. And to a degree, I don't blame Canada for that. I mean, Trump wasn't kind. But I think if I had to bet, I think he did not get the response regarding fentanyl and the border that he wanted from Trudeau. He wanted Trudeau to say, you're right. Instead, Canada minimized it. Oh, it's not even 10% of what crosses your southern border. That's kind of like, you can beat my wife, but only hit her once.
Yeah.
You don't get to hit her twice. I don't know. Flying car. I feel like I'm watching the Jetsons.
I hope it's not built by Skoda. It is a Slovakian company, Klein Vision. Stefan Klein has been spending 20 years on this thing. Basically, it's like that amphibious car. Remember, you could drive it into the water. This one goes from car to aircraft
in under 2 minutes. Yeah. And it's already got 170 hours of flight time.
Tops out at 155 miles an hour, has a 621 mile an hour range. It's pretty exact. You get to 620, you better start your landing.
Right. You better get the gear down. Can you imagine trying to come home from you're I don't know. Where would you be? You might be somewhere where you had a couple of pops and you get in and push the wrong button. That'd be do you get a FWI flying while
you could? Absolutely, you could. Well, the
sheriff's office has a Tahoe that flies. Pull over.
The Jetsons are on its way.
Well, we know you can land right there on the loop, right on the frontage road.
Absolutely.
It's not a problem.
As long as your wings don't clip the lights.
Put it down. Put it down right there.
I guess the federal government's going to try to raise Sean Duffy, our transportation secretary. Already done more than Pete Buttigieg ever did as transportation secretary. But Sean Duffy's announcing plans to raise retirement age for air traffic controllers from 56 to 61.
I don't see why.
That's a cushy gig, right?
I don't see why 61 would be such a problem. I mean, it's not like they're 75 years old.
Yeah.
Even though that's getting younger every day.
It is. Randy Lux says flying cars. I don't even have a hoverboard yet.
Right? I still have to pedal my bicycle. I see guys. I was in DC and this guy comes by, and so in Washington, there's a number of little side lanes, the acquiescence lanes, I call them. We're like, well, we're riding bikes every day. And every now and then you'll step off the curb, a bicycle will go by, or one of those little scooters that are electric.
Yeah. Or electric bike.
Every now and then you see one and it's like, hey, Steve, you're a little heavy for that scooter. And it's like kind of bowed in the middle, trying to get by. That thing has like a range of 1.5 miles. It should be like 10 miles. It's got 1.5 miles.
Mopeds the electric bike is does anybody really ever pedal those things anymore?
Oh, yeah. Used to have the moped, you could get it going, pedal a bit. But now, yeah, they're electric.
Yeah.
What do you make of this? The first group of 59 white, I don't know why white matters, but we'll go with it. The first group of 59 South Africans, mainly Afrikaners, I guess that means like a region they're from, arrived in the United States on Sunday under a refugee program.
I think they're originally of Dutch descent.
Okay.
When the Dutch controlled South Africa.
Now, is it relevant that they're white because
Trump's a racist? That's why.
Okay. I was thinking that maybe since you've never seen, and hey, freedom is everything, right? The United States, for example, when we decided to be free and England cut off all aid, and, I get it. We went through some tough times, right? But when South Africa went from what I call the 90-10, when the 10% that had all the money, who were predominantly white, when they ran the country, it was a garden spot. And it is a mess. It is a ghetto now. But the native Africans, well, I guess the whites were native too, I guess. At any rate, the black folks took it over. And it's terrible. Nobody goes there anymore. The only industry they have left is hunting, which is still done by white people. So very, very interesting.
I believe it's the genocide that's going on against white South Afrikaners that are being killed, forcibly removed from their farms. That's what's going on.
Kelly Frank says, my sound effects are on point this morning. I appreciate that. Hey, you want to come by and have a beer? Come to the Oval Office. Bill Clinton invites you up for a cocktail. No pun intended.
But of course, they've got to make it even more racially divisive because
stay after
he's bringing them here in spite of not letting Afghans in and others from war zones. Well, because we don't know who those people are.
Right. But again,
let's not forget Joe Biden just left our Afghan allies in Afghanistan, but airlifted a bunch of people in here that we had no idea who they were.
Yeah. Yes or no, obviously. The Dutch were not native South Africans, but we're trying to figure out how long these people have been there. I don't know if did the Dutch settle there centuries ago? I don't know.
I'm sure some of them were born there.
But once again, I have to challenge our president a little bit. The optics, even if it's a good idea, and we might find out at some point, well, we also brought in 59
but if
from
Somalia. If you're doing what's
59.
right, should you worry about the optics?
No, you should. You should do what's right first. Yeah.
But it's all about the optics with the left and the critics of Donald Trump. Case in point, they hate this country, but nobody's really leaving this country to go somewhere else.
Nobody's
right?
clamoring to get into Mexico and demand their rights. No. Junior says it's not sound effects, it's the oncoming of Tourette's. I've always had a question, and you may know this. Which is what? No, really. That's what I'm going to ask you. But our audience, I'd love for my audience to tell me. Why is it? I get it that people sometimes have an uncontrollable tic and they end up defining it as Tourette syndrome. But why is it that people? So, like, I look at my mother. My mother, for example. I don't think I've ever even heard my mother say "dang." I mean that. My mother doesn't talk about, "Oh, hell no." None of that. None of those expletive-laced comments ever come out of my mother's mouth. And yet, someone like that gets what they define as Tourette's, and they will drop F-bombs on you and all that. Things that they've never said. I've heard it said A drunk man's words or a sober man's thoughts. There's a lot of truth in that. I've had people say things to me that the next day they go, I didn't really mean that, but I mean, it was kind of true, but I didn't mean that. I don't understand why people curse. Why don't they go, ginger snaps? I don't understand. Cowboy cookies. Why don't they do that?
I think the worst thing I ever heard my grandma say was fudge one time.
Yeah, but yeah. Can anyone have a different opinion without hating this country? Yes, they can, but their opinion can't be wrong. You can't have people that I look at, for example, what was the example I gave you this morning? We were talking about, I'm making you work now. We were talking about, and
so long ago. I can't.
I'm like, why can't the left be? How is the left not outraged about that? Ugh. It'll come back around. I know what it was. How can it be that the left, because they care so much, they're so emotionally involved in solving everyone's problems? How can it be that the left in this country, who cares so deeply, how are they not outraged at the Middle East, Sharia law, the beating of women? You will cover your face. You will not drive. And by the way, our son, I think he might be gay.
So the police will set up a trap for him.
Yes.
And then arrest him.
And then they may sexually assault him just to teach him a lesson. And yet the left in this country, who you would think would be the champion of the Middle Eastern woman, they're silent. Why is that? Because at the end of the day, they don't care about anybody. That's right. We're the worst country on the planet. And at the end of the day, they don't care about women's rights. They don't really care about civil rights. They just care about what the right isn't doing in those regards. That's it.
Or that they are doing, but not in their way.
Right. All they do is judge. The left sits on the, they're like a Labradoodle. They sit on the side, they give you the side eye and go, you're not doing enough. You're not doing, if you gave us more money, we could do more. And yet the champion of the little guy, the champion of the underdog, they don't root for the unborn baby.
I need to work that into a little graphic that we can put up.
They don't root for the unborn baby. They're pro-abortion because every woman should have a choice. Yeah. And yet the same people that are every woman should have a choice think that the gay dude in the skirt ought to be playing sports against their daughters.
Storm Bales says the left doesn't even believe in protecting women in sports.
You
know what's interesting? Right. There was a survey yesterday I saw, and I meant to send it to you. 75% of Americans do not believe biological males should be playing women's sports. That's how out of touch the left is with this country.
So I scanned the other day a video that was on MSNBC. Yes, I watch alternative points of view. And they had a trans guy on there who had been in Navy intelligence, and she was bemoaning the fact that President Trump said no more trans in our military. I don't know why. We do a super job. And the guy goes, well, let me break it down for you this way. President Trump was elected president. He's commander in chief. He is charged with preserving the integrity of our military. And if that's the way he sees it going down, then that's the way it is. And the host, who was a black female, turned to the white commentator and said, well, what happens if the commander in chief wakes up tomorrow and decides that no longer does he want blacks in the military? Because he doesn't believe that that creates a cohesive unit. He doesn't believe that that's what's best for the military. So he says no more blacks in the military. Why is that not okay? And the guy looked him right in the face and said, because being black is not a mental illness. Blacks don't have a 41% suicide attempt rate. They don't get it right the first time, but 41%.
And that rate doesn't go down once they have the surgery and start.
What if the guy in your foxhole decides, I've had it, I've got a hangnail, and runs out of the foxhole and gets everybody killed? That's the whole point.
NBC News poll, 75% of Americans oppose transgender women participating in female sports. And here's how they try to swing it. Although Gen Z is most supportive, only 36% of Gen Z respondents said they agreed with it. So that's only an 11-point swing over the rest of it. It skews the 25%.
64% still say no.
Yeah. And they polled almost 20,000 Americans. This was no little 1,500 people to get the pulse of America. 20,000 people in this poll.
So when you're different view, that doesn't mean you hate America, disparages women, hurts Title IX, all the hard-fought battles just to get women the opportunity. When I was a kid, they played 3-on-3 basketball, 6-girl basketball. Nobody went to the games. Nobody cared. We had a player here named Vaughn Bunn. She was a great basketball player. Went to A&M, played basketball. They played 3-on-3 on defense and 3-on-3 on offense.
Half court, right?
They never played basketball the way basketball was intended to be played. They had no opportunities. Donna Lopiano came along. At the time, Darrell Royal hated her guts. She went to Congress and testified. Darrell Royal testified and visited with, at that time, President Gerald Ford, and said, women in college athletics is going to break the program, man. It's going to break the deal. Football doesn't generate enough money to pay for those women. All of a sudden, women's sports became popular, and people started watching women's sports, especially women's basketball. And the next thing you know, they're kind of standing on their own. They're still not profitable. 99% of those D1 programs don't make any money. Fair. Basketball, women's basketball, how many do you think cash flow? South Carolina, UConn.
I mean, outside of football, none of them cash flow.
Texas doesn't for sure. But yet, we all support that. So if you have an alternative viewpoint that allows you to align with being pro-choice, that allows you to be aligned with letting trans play in women's sports, and has no problem with what's going on in the Middle East, then I think you're anti-American.
They don't go the other way, though.
No.
They never push for a trans man to go play football.
Well, that's exactly like just a couple of weeks ago.
Because none of them are doing it.
Disney had a walkout, albeit they walked out. They walked out during a commercial break, and then they came back. But Disney walked out because they were being supportive of LGBTQ in sports. I don't see the problem. I don't care if it's a dude and he thinks he's a girl, and he wants to change in the women's locker room. They should let him. I mean, Bruce Jenner's the perfect example of that. Bruce Jenner thinks he's a girl, but he's still heterosexual. Bruce Jenner has openly said, I'm not lopping off my bits. I mean, I want to go around looking like a woman, but I'm still a man.
I think at some point Bruce Jenner is going to end up being
even more of a cartoon character.
No, revealed the serious mental disorder.
There's no doubt.
Even he says, Caitlin Bruce says biological men should not be playing women's sports.
He's 100% against it. It just takes away and the idea.
Imagine if he would have done this in 76. He would have set records that would never be touched at the Olympics. Instead, he just dominated all the men.
Very interesting. Yeah, I can't even fathom. But the left is they're a rudderless ship, and that's why you can have a different opinion and not hate America, but when your actions show that you hate America.
Well, and nobody on the right that I know of goes, I'm leaving this country if Biden gets elected or if Harris gets elected.
No,
I didn't know anybody.
Did. What's her name? Rosie O'Donnell. She left, I think.
Good.
Yeah. She hadn't had a hit in 40 years. Like, nobody cares about it. She hadn't done anything really of any significance since A League of Their Own.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, who cares?
And she only got typecast in that one.
Bye, Rosie. Hey, folks, the office is at 205. You get a chance to come in here and check out these suites. Man, it's beautiful space. We'd love to have a neighbor. Won't you be our neighbor?
Oh, nobody's here that early anyway.
Come on in. That's a great thing. You can come in. You can show your friends where we do our thing, and then you can still have a nice, quiet office space because we will be gone. The chopping block this week, Ash is looking it up. White Trash Services, White Trash Site Services. Let White Trash let you have a trash-tastic day, whether you need to haul off an old barn, get some trash off your site, have a dumpster, weekly service, a roll-off dumpster to clean out that garage, 550-1826. Reach out to White Trash Services.
Chopping block, $10 10-ounce New York strips today. These are wet-aged Angus New York strips. They're incredible. These are good. I've had them. They're awesome.
They are good.
Get onto their Facebook page. You can like their post, tag 3 friends, share the post. You'll get a chance to win a $50 gift card. Shrimp. Oh, my Lord. Shrimp and crawfish boudin.
Oh, wow. I bet
I'm
good.
going in there today. Done. Something else. Ricky King says, no, who was it that said this? I think Christy Thurman said, if you lived as long with the Kardashians as Bruce Jenner did, you'd be jacked up.
Anybody be mentally
We're going to get
up.
to that in just a second because it was so stupid this morning.
Thank you, Christy, because right after this commercial break, we'll do that. USA Concrete Coatings, I always say, if you want to sand it, seal it, stain it, paint it, go out to Junior Sample's house. He'll invite you in. He'll give you a glass of lemonade and show you what's going on. They did amazing work. I was fortunate enough to be out there and went upstairs and looked down and watched those guys as they said it was a brand new slab. They didn't pour the slab. They had this big thing going and they polished that concrete and it was beautiful. It was.
And there were some spots
fantastic.
that Junior wasn't happy with. Guess what? He picked up the phone,
right
called Charlie, and they came back and got it going good.
There you go. Pat Welder says, look, that shrimp and crawfish boudin will make a rabbit slap a bear. Oh, want to slap a bear.
May not actually do it, but
that's pretty smart.
Might make them bold enough to do it.
Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Allen's your go-to tow. Reach out to Allen for all your towing needs, opportunities. You need to get a vehicle from here to Gonzales for a new hire? Why drive it over, waste half the day? The guy's got to get a ride back. 2 cars go over. Just put it on the back of Allen's truck, and he'll take it over there for you.
You got oil field supply companies, and you've got little offices all around. They'll take a service truck out there for you.
Yep, Veracruz Restaurant
tomorrow.
Tomorrow for sure. Yeah. Called a Wednesday,
but today
pre-called a Tuesday. It's a great day to be in there.
It's a great day to be in there.
It's always a great day to be at Veracruz. Simply the best Mexican food in town. Let's talk about what's going on with the Kardashians because it's obviously huge news. We tell you sometimes that Tuesday is a slow news day. The president's in Saudi Arabia, but every major news outlet from Fox to NBC,
the BBC, we were flipping around this morning.
Live footage. Kim Kardashian's in Paris to discuss the theft of her
ring,
2.9 million pound ring. I'm like, really? Not pounds, but dollars, 2.9 million.
Euro.
Wasn't a big, heavy ring.
No. Worth.
Although if she got like a little, what I call them canardly, the diamonds are so small, you can hardly see them. If she got a diamond like that from every lover she's taken, her ring might weigh 2.9 million pounds.
It might.
Yeah. If she just got a diamond from all the men she slept with on video,
fair enough,
it would be a large offering.
But there's the stupidity of the BBC and NBC and Fox and CNN. Who cares, really?
Right, about the Kardashians, period.
Like, would they have been in Omaha if she would have happened to be in Omaha for something? Which, I mean, she probably never would go to Omaha, but
right.
She's only going to, she would have done her testimony via video.
Right.
She's only in Paris because it's in Paris.
So we had a decent question. We'll shift gears to the Saudi Arabian visit of the president. Why is he there? What does he want, a yacht? No, they've offered him an airplane. I don't know what to do with that, but I know why the president's in Saudi Arabia. It's to send a direct message to Iran. That's why he's there. I've heard the Middle East described accurately as a zero-sum game.
Well, and we've just sold $1.4 billion in weapons to the United Arab Emirates.
Right. Chinook helicopters, F-16 fighter jets. But when you look at the Middle East, the Biden administration, I have no problem with their take on it, said we're going to neuter Saudi Arabia. We are going to minimize their impact in that region. When you do that, you immediately empower Iran. So when Iran is back in the Houthis and doing the things they're doing, you go over and you open a small dialogue with Saudi Arabia to take some of the power back away from Iran. That's what he's doing. That's why he's there. He can sugarcoat it any way he wants. The idea was he believes he's going to get $1 trillion in new investment money from the Saudis into the U.S. to help bolster manufacturing and things like that here. The main reason he's there is for that photo op, for those optics to send to the Middle East, that Saudi Arabia is no longer on the blacklist and put Iran on notice. That's why he's there.
Yeah. Here's
Am
the
I
issue.
right?
Yeah, more
Okay.
or less. Yeah,
More or less.
No, you're right. It signals a signal to the Middle East that get in line or
Right.
we'll keep bombing you.
There you go.
I don't have a problem. The whole plane from Qatar. I don't have a problem with it until this point. According to ABC News, that the new plane, which will be Air Force One, this is a luxury Boeing 747-8, but which, by the way, just to point out, the White House ordered one from Boeing in 2018, I believe. They're still waiting on it. In fact, I don't think they're supposed to deliver it until 2029.
Well, now the reality is it's not just your average jumbo jet, right? I mean, it's not. Everything that's in it is super high tech, and it's constantly evolving because, I mean, you've seen Air Force One, you've seen the Harrison Ford movie. Yeah. It's got the countermeasures and all that, and it's, there's no doubt it's an important airplane.
Here's the problem I've got with it. It'll be the new Air Force One. Ownership of the plane will be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation, according to ABC News, once he leaves office. This is where I have a problem with it. If it's a gift to the United States, it's a gift to the United States. This becomes Air Force One.
Right. How does he get to keep it and use it for his own personal use after he leaves office?
That I don't know.
And again, let's see this. In a social media post Sunday night, Trump confirmed his administration was preparing to accept the aircraft, calling it a very public and transparent transaction with the Defense Department. He had previously toured the plane, which is so opulently configured it is known as a flying palace, while it was parked at the West Palm Beach International Airport in February.
Plane, not gonna lie.
So it's a plane that I'm assuming was one of the fleet of one of the Saudi.
And it's not that new. It's
13 years old. It's a private aircraft.
So so there are those on the left, but I've got a problem with that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, I don't believe it needs to go to the Trump. Although I think Reagan put a plane in his presidential library, didn't he?
No doubt. I didn't know if he ever used it. Torrin Bales asks, why does the left love to support Iran? See, that goes back to even stronger than that. Why doesn't the left totally disdain Iran? They are against everything. They're totally against women's rights. They don't hate. They seek and hunt and trap the LGBTQ family of knuckleheads.
I'm with Randy Langston. I wouldn't fly in anything gifted to me. Ain't getting me like that. I go a step further. You could give me a plane. I couldn't afford to fly the damn thing anywhere.
Yeah, well,
it would sit there on a runway on a tarmac, wasting away, rotting, rusting.
We talk about the fact that I think the current Air Force Ones were brought in during the Bush administration, and that I think they were ordered under the first George H.W. Bush administration. And what's interesting is that an airframe is judged not on miles, because you can change engines. The airframe is judged on landings and takeoffs. That's the hardest time on an airplane.
There's a lot of stress on them
when it comes down. Yeah. There is no way that any Air Force One we've ever had. I mean, back when they had a DC-10 outfitted to be Air Force One, that's one thing. It doesn't make sense for the president to fly along at 300 miles an hour any longer.
Pretty good planes back then, though.
But there's no calculable strain on the airframe compared to the 737 you get on at Southwest Airlines, because a Southwest Airlines jet that flies every day and makes 8 takeoffs and landings a day surpasses Air Force One in its first 2 months of flying. Air Force One flies very selectively. I don't know what the deal is. I mean, is it worse? is it worse that Trump is accepting an airplane out front, telling everybody it's a 13-year-old plane, they're giving it to me, and they're going to give it to my library to get around the law that you can't really give it to me? Is that worse than all the money that the Bidens profited out of Ukraine that they've denied and tried to cover up and given immunity for? I don't know. And don't get me wrong, two wrongs don't make a right. I'm not trying to say two wrongs make a right. I'm saying, where is the investigation? Why haven't the Republicans, with all their leads in Congress and the president, why haven't we done all these lawsuits against the left? I got better things to do, more important things to do for the country. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But no, personally, I'm not a fan of the president taking a plane. But I think that he's been
That's how they do business over there, though.
a victim of such litigious garbage. Like we said, there's 400 lawsuits against him right now, that he's like going neener. Sometimes the rules of golf work in your favor, sometimes they don't. So I'm going to accept this gift in the form of a donation to my presidential library, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think that's where he's at. I'm going to serve these 4 years, and I'm going to go play golf every day. So I may play golf every day while I'm here. Yeah. I think that's where he's at.
What do you make of California's governor? This is all. I think this is all a ploy to put himself as the front runner for the next presidential election. Gavin Newsom now urging local governments in California to basically ban homeless encampments and try to get people into shelters. This is a guy whose own state legislation that he has signed has enabled this to become a problem.
No doubt.
In his state. And all of a sudden now it's a problem?
Yeah, I saw the left come unhinged last week when the president talked about, hey, look, if you are an able-bodied American person, we're going to take you off of essentially welfare after 2 years. And people are like, how are they going to get by? Well, get a job.
The left coast is crazy. Washington State right now, I've been following this a little bit. They've got a budget issue. They can't balance their budget. I don't think they have. They're trying. But at the same time, they don't have the cash to do some of the things that they need to do. They're putting forth a bill in Washington. I don't know if it'll pass or not, but you got some idiot lawmaker in Seattle that wants to give illegal aliens free health care and other services at a time when the state can't even balance their budget.
You lost
how deranged they are.
Illegal aliens. That's where you lost me. Callie Fromey says Trump has already said he will not be keeping the plane. She read that he was turning it over to the Department of Defense.
I was just reading what ABC News reported. So ABC News is probably just trying to stir up crap, or they have something. I don't know. But Tammy, we just dumbed it down for the audience. But
and I'm glad you got it.
Yeah.
Tammy says, I want a president to be thinking neener. I'll do what I want.
They all do what they want. That's why they're exactly the president. Right.
And the problem is, I hope that you folks don't end up.
LBJ wanted to kill JFK to be president.
Absolutely. And probably did. Certainly was complicit in his death.
Absolutely.
Never shed a tear and hated Robert.
Didn't even wait for the body to be cold before he was taking duty, assuming duties on Air Force One.
He kind of had to, but at the same time, he was gloating about it.
He could have got back to D.C.
Yeah.
First State Bank Astros update. Should we go there?
If you run against Gavin Newsom, all you have to do is just go, California. California, folks. I mean, come on. You win. Astros update. You tell me. I forgot what happened.
7-5 loss to the Royals.
Oh, that's why I forgot.
Yeah. Quick update on Jags softball and baseball at the NAIA National Championship opening round. Softball loses 2-1 at Morningside. Baseball loses 10-9 to Kaiser University in a walk-off in the ninth after leading 9-8, so they'll play again today.
Right.
Trying to stay alive, but the Astros they win one, lose one. That's what we got with the Astros. They either going to have to figure it out here real quick and start to get on a bit of a winning streak, or that'll be all for the Astros this season.
Absolutely. We listen to our audience and have been told on numerous occasions that there's certain people we should indulge and certain people we shouldn't. But today, I'm going to go ahead and answer a question. Tammy asks, what president took a gift like this plane? None that I know of. And in fact, I think I said clearly, I kind of wish he wouldn't have done it. And Randy Langston adds the obvious fact. Yeah, it's usually money. Now, the difference is when Biden took money from foreign dignitaries, Biden didn't turn it over to the Department of Defense.
The Clinton Foundation took all sorts of money from foreign governments.
Money laundering.
And the minute Hillary lost, the foundation closed up and nobody knows where all that money went.
That's exactly right.
There you go, Tammy. It's right there. The last two Democrat presidents, and probably Bush took some money too.
Criminals. They're all criminals. And Trump said, look, how much more transparent do you want me to be? And the thing is, there are people that can give you gifts that you can't reciprocate. When you've got a country that's worth hundreds of billions and billions and trillions of dollars, and they go, we want to give you a plane. It's 13 years old. The king's tired of flying in it.
He wants a new one.
He wants the
Dreamliner.
So why not?
You're just getting a 747.
I'll take it. I'll give it to the Department of Defense. We'll use it as Air Force One. It's nice. What do you insult them? And if you're going to go see them, do you insult them and say, I don't want your airplane? I'm the United States of America.
I think Emirates Air probably has nicer planes that they fly regularly than maybe Air Force One. I don't know.
Yeah. So question asked, question answered. We'll go back to our abstinence program just like that. That's right, Torn Bells. What's good for me, but not for thee. Folks, love you guys. It's Tuesday. Have a great.
That was such.
You cut me off. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, folks.
Bye, folks.